Hello and welcome back to another episode of A Method to the Madness, our Breaking Bad edition. I'm your host Mitchie, and joining me as usual is Patrick.
Hello.
And this week we're covering Season 3, Episode 6 of Breaking Bad, otherwise titled Sunset. This is a pretty, I really like this episode, and it's got one of my favourite sequences, or say, favourite scenes in like all of TV, I think. And we also get to meet Gael Boeticher.
Yeah, hell yeah, my boy
Our
Gael.
fucking nerd, yeah.
Is your favorite sequence the meth cooking?
No. I'm talking like the favorite scene, where Hank is trying to get into the RV.
Oh yes,
and that whole
so good.
10-15 minutes is literally, I love it. Like, it is to me one of the most memorable parts of Breaking Bad. Like, I just remember that scene all the time.
Yeah. I was like scrubbing through the episode just to refresh my memory, and I just ended up watching that whole scene because it was so good.
Yeah. It's so good. Yeah. Anyway, the plot, please.
Okay. Walt settles into his new surroundings and takes a liking to his new lab assistant, Gael. Jesse shows his meth to Badger and Skinny Pete and enlists them to enter the drug trade alongside him again. The two reluctantly agree. Meanwhile, Hank is now conducting surveillance on Jesse due to his connection with Combo, believing that the RV of Combo's mother is in his possession. He receives a call from Marie, who suggests that he asks Walt about it. Hank takes her advice and calls Walt, asking him if he can recall Jesse owning an RV. Instantly alarmed, Walt realizes that he must now dispose of the RV before Hank can find it.
What do you think of Gael?
Yeah, I love him. He's fucking Gael. How can you not love Gael? No, actually, like, I don't super love him. I don't, like, he's a bit of a pushover. But, like, he's like a meeker version of Walt.
Yeah, you're talking like you know him or something. Like, you're the one that has to work with him.
I mean, but, he seems like a nice dude. He's alright.
Yeah, what do you think of his libertarian moral argument as to why he's cooking meth? I thought it was quite interesting.
Yeah, no, I really like his philosophy.
Yeah, like, oh, well, someone's got to do it anyway, so I might as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's if there is such a thing, it's the most moral way you can make meth.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could extend this argument to, like, lots of things that are legal, like, say, making the atomic bomb, like, you could have refused to be in on the Manhattan Project, but someone was going to take your place and make it anyway.
Yeah.
And, that wasn't breaking the law. That was within the laws of the times back then, that you weren't a criminal for doing that. So based on that argument, really, and what that contributed to and what methamphetamine contributes to, like, it's kind of interesting. Like, it blurs a distinction between what's really legally right and morally right, like, they're both completely different things sometimes.
I love his little coffee contraption.
Yeah.
And then Walt tries some, and then he's like, why the hell are we making meth?
Yeah. They should just become baristas.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, I don't know, just, like, more to that argument, like, yeah, why don't they just, why doesn't he just, like, make coffee? You know? He could probably make a living off that, but it's not about the money for him.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting how amicable they seem to be at first?
Yeah.
And, Gael anticipates what Walt needs, and, like, they just seem to be really efficient. But as we see, like, Walt grows a bit dissatisfied with his pairing. It's just, and then it kind of highlights what Jesse brings to, their dynamic.
Yeah, but I personally think that Walt's just being a dick for not being happy with the pairing. He just wanted it for his own reasons, not because he had a problem with Gael. Well, Gael's efficient, therefore I don't want him. Like, it's nonsensical. It's seriously stupid. Like, he wants an efficient person.
That's also why I don't like that Gael's a bit of a pushover, because part of the reason that he gets kicked out is because he kind of lets Walt do that. But anyway,
that's
a bit further.
That is true. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. He is a pushover. He's just a fucking nerd, bro. Like, and apparently Walt's the boss for whatever reason because Gus said so. So I think he's kind of looking at, like, well, I need to, treat him like my boss.
And then I like their little chat about how you were saying last episode. Apart from Gail's philosophy of, like, someone else is going to make it anyway, he's like, how he loves the lab, and he says it's all still magic.
Yeah.
Which is very much in line with Walt's, ethos of, like, cooking meth as well. That we find out later on, yeah.
Yeah, he makes a point of how, like, university, doing my doctor and stuff just wasn't what I wanted. I just wanted to be in a lab kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is very interesting, really. Like, I kind of like that. Like, these two very scientific people, they're scientists, chemists, right? Like, they still view what they do as sort of like an art or magic even, and And I think it's kind of a nice way of looking at it. Like, it's something unusual in science, I guess, is that people don't really look at things as magic.
The thing you have to understand, Morty, is that sometimes science is more art than science.
Rick and Morty.
And then he reads out a Whitlam poem, right?
Yeah. The Learned Astronomer.
Yeah, when I heard The Learned Astronomer, I've got it pulled up.
You fucking nerd.
I really love this poem. It's such a meaningful parallel, man. So let me read it out real quick. When I heard The Learned Astronomer, when the proofs, the figures were ranged in columns before me, when I was shown the charts and diagrams to add, divide, and measure them, when I sitting heard the astronomer where he lectured with much applause in the lecture room, how soon unaccountable I became tired and sick, till rising and gliding out I wandered off by myself, in the mystical moist night air, and from time to time looked up in perfect silence at the stars. So, to give a very dry summarization of that story, someone was in a lecture, learning about astronomy, and they got tired of hearing about, this dry academia, so he actually went out and looked at the stars himself.
Right.
Yeah, so similarly, it's all well and good to learn about chemistry, but like what these characters really want is to actually put it into practice, and as Gael says, make magic pretty much.
Yeah, and you can see that like not just in methamphetamine, but the fact that he makes this coffee contraption too. He just wants to do anything related to chemistry.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I find that says a lot about Gael and by extension about Walter as well.
Says what?
Why they need to make meth. Walt didn't need to, neither did Gael.
Right, yep.
But they want to anyway, yeah.
Yeah, like I was saying before, like his real reason for doing it is the passion of being in a lab, nothing else. And I think, and we can skipping all the way to the last scene in this whole TV series, when Walt dies, fucking spoilers. Yeah, you can see that. Like, he dies in the laboratory and he's just looking at everything around him with admiration. Like, yeah, this is truly what kind of, to me, is what, like, a lot of the show is about. It's just literally about passion for science, really, but just in a fucked up way.
And then, like, one of the last shots is him touching one of the, metal containers.
Yeah.
And then, he in a way where he's like, he touches it with, like, longing.
Yeah.
As if, like, fuck, these were the best days of my life kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I was alive, as he says.
Yeah.
Oh, I am awake, yeah.
Anyway, let's move on.
Walt drives to Clovis's lot, who is fixing up the RV while chatting with Badger. Walt informs him that the DEA is trying to find the RV and that they must get rid of it. Clovis tells him about Old Joe, a man who owns a junkyard and will be able to destroy the RV with no questions asked. Badger calls Jesse and tells him that Walt is planning to have the RV destroyed, prompting him to rush to the junkyard. Hank follows him. An enraged Jesse suddenly shows up and Walt, horrified, realizes that he has led Hank right to them. The two lock themselves within the RV while Hank tries to force the door open. Old Joe steps in and tells Hank that the RV is a domicile and therefore he cannot legally search it without a warrant. Hank relents and phones the DEA office for a warrant. Thinking quickly, Walt comes up with a plan to lure him away. He has Saul's secretary, Francesca, call Hank to tell him that Marie has been in a car accident and is being rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Hank leaves the junkyard and rushes to the hospital. With Hank gone, Old Joe scraps the RV as Walt and Jesse watch solemnly. Gus meets with the cousins at sunset in a remote location. He tells them again that he will not allow them to kill Walt until the business with him has concluded, but he gives them the blessing to instead go after the man who actually pulled the trigger on Tuco, Hank.
Yeah. Old Joe. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Don't you love how, like, Wikipedia summaries just, like, give you the name of a character that was never named in the actual episode? Like... Like, where do they get it from?
Dude, he's such a good character, though. I love him. He's just, like, so knowledgeable about the law. Because, suggesting that he's, like, he's been doing this for years, like, tussling with the law and shit.
It's so funny. Yeah, this scene, man, like, honestly, it's just... I don't know what it is about it, but it's kind of like the show does this a lot, where like you get Gus Fring rock up to the DEA center to donate the money. And as we see in the next few episodes, he does the same thing again, donates chicken and food and stuff to the cops and that. And like this like hiding in plain sight criminal kind of activity. And this is exactly kind of what's going on in this bit, I guess, is that Walt is right there, literally like a meter away from Hank. But Hank just simply can't see him and is just he's just obstructed by like the law and stuff like that, and that leads to 3 more seasons before he's even discovered as Heisenberg. It's just amazing. Like the tension that you feel, and it's just so good.
Yeah, it's called dramatic irony. Is when
Yeah.
there is tension because of something the audience knows that the characters don't know.
Yeah, and I feel, and the show really, the best, it just achieves the best way into in the use of dramatic irony, I suppose. Like, it's all about that. It's all about that.
Yeah.
And I guess a lot of dramas are, but this one especially.
Yeah, no, I love how, actually, literally close they are. Could you imagine if, like, he found Walt then and there? Like, that would have just been it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean, right? Like, it all kind of banks up onto these moments, these like these 10-minute scenes where everything literally like lies in the balance, kind of thing. What Walt did to get Hank away was so fucking like
devious.
malicious. Like it is really like nasty, like almost evil in a way, but at the same time, I see complete justification for it, because how else was he meant to get Hank away? He was adamant. He was not going to move away. He was going to wait for the cops to come with the warrant. Nothing else, and it seemed like the only option.
It's super devious, but like it's pretty clever. Not gonna lie.
It is really clever. Yeah. But it's again another step that Walt takes in his descent into, I mean, what he eventually becomes, I guess. These little things, chip away at his character, is goodness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What I like about the fact that he uses Marie for that is that it's again, there's a parallel there between Hank and Walt, right? Last season, we see Walt, and he has to make the decision of selling the meth or seeing his daughter being born, right? And in this one, we see Hank going through a similar situation. He gets a phone call as well, and he has to decide whether he has to go and see his wife or, crack this case, kind of thing.
Right.
And we see Hank go to the hospital, so he makes a better decision. He's a better person.
He chooses family, whereas Walter chooses business. Yeah, I like that. And then this little montage of the RV being destroyed is great, with that like Spanish song playing.
Yeah.
And then Jesse's looking at it. He's looking really sad.
Yeah. And but they're both looking at it, and I don't, it's like they're not talking, you don't hear anything, and it's almost like it's just the two actors standing there watching the car get destroyed, and they're just having a chat. Like it's just Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul talking, not the characters. Like
yeah. Some great camera placements, like how it's inside the RV when the first bit of destruction happens. Yeah,
that was cool. Yeah, that's one thing we don't really talk about enough, but cinematography in this show is actually surprisingly good.
It's so good. And then there's like another shot where the thing that's crushing the RV is lowering, and as it's lowering, it reveals Walter and Jesse in the background.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's clean. Yeah. And talking about Jesse being real sad about it, Walt was also kind of like feeling that nostalgia, because the only reason he could have ran away as soon as he dumped the car, right? But he decided to stay for like a few minutes, and he was like touching the fucking
it was like a funeral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is what we're talking about, right? Like this is his passion, like he touches that metal canister at the end of the TV series when he dies. It's like that's kind of same thing, he just sees all the stuff he's created, what he's achieved with the magic in this RV and stuff like that. And I mean, it actually leads to him to almost being caught. So,
well, yeah, he's sentimental. Like he even, later on, he buries the money in this site where they first cooked. So, like, the history of his criminal career means a lot to him.
Yeah, he does lace a lot of meaning into things, doesn't he?
Yeah.
The end of this episode's good too, because fucking Hank, man, like this episode and the next one, it's just so rough for him. Well, in fact, this whole season's rough for him from now on. Like, but we see that like Gus gives the twins permission to go kill him, and you're just like, fuck, like the poor bloke couldn't crack his case. He received a call saying that his wife was pretty much almost dead or something, which is like such a devastating thing to go through. And then this happens. Now the twins are going after him. It's just like now he's the one that's not going to get a break. Like,
yeah, poor bloke.
But yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes in TV. Just one of the most memorable scenes to me. Just that whole RV scene. It's so fucking good. Makes me really appreciate the show, and I love how it's ramping up now. Like, we've had this really slow opening to the season for the first 4 episodes, but now it's really kicking off. Like, shit's actually happening.
Yeah.
And it feels worth it, all that setting up.
Yeah, totally.
All right, well, join us next time for episode 7 of season 3.
See you later.
I love the lab. Because it's all still magic. chemistry? I mean, once you lose that...
It is. It is magic. It still is.
If you like this series, Mitch is going to tell you where you can find more of these.
Yep, so you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. And we've also got a website, amttm.com, where you can find our fabulous episodes on Breaking Bad.
If you have any questions, queries, insights, or criticism, you can send them to mail@amttm.com.
And as always, thank you for listening.